Welcome back. We are going to look now at making our Pear Decks interactive. So using all of those question types that come in this Pear Deck sidebar over here. So you can see that there are 6 types of different questions we can ask. We can also add audio to a slide that's going to be similar to adding a website. But the big ones are these 6. Text, multiple choice, number, a website, drawing, or something that's draggable. In this video, we're going to go through adding them, and in another one, we're going to see how students can use these to interact with your presentation. So we are going to do them in order. Our first slide asks, what other triangles can you name? So we are going to use the text option to allow students to just name other types of triangles. The best part is they can either give one or many responses. There's also no options that we need to change with this type of response. It simply adds the ability to add text to their responses. You'll notice a few things. First, it put this bar at the bottom. That bar is what makes the slide editable by students in Pear Deck. It's what makes them able to answer questions, not edit your content. If that bar goes away at any moment, so if I delete that bar, it is no longer a Pear Deck interactive slide. It is just my plain old slide again. If you accidentally delete it, not to fear, you can click that button again, and it will simply add that portion back to the slide. You will also notice they added some comments down below. That's just to help you remember when you're giving the presentation what you intended on this slide. It will add them by default with each Pear Deck question that you add in. Feel free to delete them or change them as needed. So on our first slide, we've got our students can write responses. So we're going to go on to our next type. This one I have put on my slide a multiple choice question. So I'm going to use the multiple choice option. Now, there is something to note here. I put my options on the slide itself. However, you do need to type them in to the box that pops up in Pear Deck. My options were align, unit circle, can't remember my 4th option. We'll say nothing in particular. Update slide. You do have to add options in that window. If you leave them blank, the students will not see any answer choices available to them from within Pear Deck. It will say that you've not configured any responses. If you give those answers, though, in that dialog that pops up, the students will see those on the side of the screen. It's up to you whether you want to have them in both places. They will see the answers on the slide, and they'll see them in the Pear Deck portion of the screen when they go to answer them. So it's up to you. If you just want to put them in that Pear Deck dialog and have them show up later, you can, or you can put them on the slide and have them see them both places. Entirely up to you. Notice again, we have the bar down at the bottom, and even it has a different logo and tells us that they're going to choose an option this time. On our next slide, we are going to let the students give a response of a number for a type of question that asks for a number. You'll notice that this one is much like the text response from before. It's simply going to give the students the ability to enter a number with the added difference that it's going to check that it's actually a number. So if they try to type their name in here, it's going to say, please enter a number instead. Other than that, it is very similar to the text option and puts the appropriate information in the bar below. On the next slide, I have included some information about different types of numbers that I would like my students to research. So when I'm on this slide, I want them to see this slide. We're going to talk about it for a brief moment, and then I want to point them to a specific website that I'd like them to browse and find information about these numbers. To do that, we can click the website button up here, and this is going to give us a dialog that asks us for the website that we want to browse. Now, the nice part about this is it will put them in the website that we give them inside this Pear Deck presentation. So I'm going to choose this nice web page about irrational numbers. I'm going to copy this link. I'm going to paste it right in here, and it'll pull a preview up of what this page will look like down below. If you don't see it here, it may still work. It's trying to give you a preview of it, but you'll notice there's some information down here that tells you about different sites that may not work based on security settings. So if you do see it here, it's a surefire thing that will work. If you don't, you might want to test out your presentation before you go any further. Once we update that slide, it will put that bar again at the bottom. It'll even show us what that URL is. And when we get there, students will be asked to open that web page within the presentation. Next, we have the draw tool. And these two are some of my favorites, the draw tool in particular. The draw tool will allow students to be able to draw anywhere on the slide. So again, you'll see when we click this button and it adds our interactive question, there's no options to add. We don't specify how they're going to do it. Our students just get to draw using a bunch of tools, a bunch of colors and highlighters and so forth to draw anywhere on the slide. Obviously, that makes it a very versatile tool. You can direct them to do a lot of things. You can direct them to circle things or write things or solve equations or draw pictures, any amount of things. They are drawing on their own slide. So they will not be drawing over each other. And this is the one advantage over the whiteboard option in Zoom. For all the students to do something at once in Zoom, they all have to be drawing over top of each other. In Pear Deck, when you use the draw option, they're each drawing their own version, and you do get the option to pull it up all at the same time, but they will only be able to edit their own. So on to our last option. In our last slide, I have three things that I want my students to pick between, and I find that the draggable option for them to mark which one they're choosing, it seems similar to multiple choice questions, but I prefer to use the draggable dot or any other logo, number, symbol you choose here. I prefer to use this one when it's more of an opinion question. I find it's very useful to be able to maybe put an arrow, and we want this to be positive, so maybe we'll make it green instead of red. And students can click and drag that object next to whatever thing they've chosen. If you'd rather it not be a pointer, you can give a dot. And if you'd like them to have a few options, let's say we're asking them to rank these three things, we could instead choose maybe a happy face that's green, a medium face that's yellow, and finally a red sad face. They will get to drag each one of these three so we can have them rank as many things as we wanted on this screen. Again, I find this really great for opinion questions. However, you might have seen as we were going through, especially for math, with all the symbols that they include, you could have them have some options there that they needed to fill in different spots on the slide. There are also numbers to go along, as well as just some other fun things. Good for punctuation too. They could correct sentences or add punctuation marks as needed on slides. Once we update that slide, again, it's going to put the bar at the bottom. We're not going to see those three marks that we just added on our slide itself, but at the bottom, it will show us the icons that we made for students to be able to move around. Those are all of the question options that are available to us in Pear Deck. Again, if you want to add audio to a slide, you can push the button down here that says add audio. You can either record that or upload any audio that you already have. If you need to comment with audio, there is an option to do that in the read and write application, but this audio option is really great if you are self-pacing activities for students. If you'd like them to do things on their own time, but you want to insert a little bit of advice here, you can do it with the Add Audio tool. Those are all the tools that we have available to us to ask questions to students in Pear Deck, and this is how we add them into presentations. In the next video, you will see how to start this presentation with your students. You'll see what it'll look like for you and for them when you present it, and how they'll be able to answer questions and how you'll be able to see their responses. See you in the next one.